The Merchant of Venice, a storybook summary, made easy to understand. Hello everyone. Welcome to Moments of Magic, the place where we make our childhood classics easy to understand and listen to, so you can never grow too old and always feel like a child at heart as you enjoy amazing stories. Today, we're diving into one of William Shakespeare's most famous plays, The Merchant of Venice. This is a story about money, love, friendship, and revenge. It's about a merchant who borrows money from a moneylender he has insulted, and the terrible price he might have to pay. It's also about a clever young woman who uses her wits to save the day. There are disguises, courtroom drama, and one of the most famous speeches in all of literature. So get comfortable, and let's begin. Act 1, Scene 1, Antonio's Sadness. The play opens in Venice, a busy city full of merchants and traders. Antonio, the merchant of the title, is walking with his friends Salarino and Salanio. He looks upset. He tells them he doesn't know why he's unhappy. It just comes over him. His friends try to cheer him up. They suggest he's worried about his ships, which are out at sea with all his goods. But Antonio says no. His ships are spread out across the world, so even if one sinks, he'll be fine. Then they suggest he might be in love. Antonio laughs at the idea. His friends give up trying to figure out his sadness. They leave as Bassanio, Lorenzo, and Gratiano arrive. Gratiano is the kind of guy who never stops talking. He tells Antonio that people who act all serious and wise are often just pretending to be smart. He tells Antonio to cheer up and enjoy life. After Gratiano and Lorenzo leave, Bassanio finally opens up to Antonio. He admits he's in debt. He's been living beyond his means, spending too much money trying to look important. But Bassanio has a plan. He tells Antonio about a beautiful and wealthy woman named Portia who lives in Belmont. Many men want to marry her. Bassanio thinks he has a chance, but he needs money to look like a proper suitor. He asks Antonio for help. Antonio, being a true friend, says yes immediately. He tells Bassanio that everything he has is his. There's just one problem. Antonio's money is all tied up in his ships at sea. He doesn't have cash to give Bassanio. So he suggests something else. Bassanio should go to Venice and try to borrow money using Antonio's good name as a guarantee. They leave together, hoping to find someone willing to lend them the money. Act 1, Scene 2, Portia's Problem. Now we go to Belmont, a beautiful country estate. Portia, the wealthy heiress, is talking to her maid Nerissa. Portia is tired of everything. She's unhappy. Nerissa tries to cheer her up. She says that having too much is just as bad as having too little. The middle ground is the happiest place to be. Portia agrees. She says it's easy to know what's right, but hard to actually do it. Then Portia reveals the real problem, her father's will. Before he died, her father set up a strange test for any man who wants to marry her. There are 3 caskets, 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 lead. Each has an inscription. One of them contains Portia's picture. Whoever chooses the right one wins Portia's hand. If they choose wrong, they must leave and never marry anyone else. Portia is trapped by her father's will. Nerissa tries to comfort her. She says her father was a good man, and she believes the right man will choose the right casket. Portia asks Nerissa to describe the suitors who have already come to court her. First, there is the Neapolitan prince. He talks about nothing but his horse. Second, there is the county palatine. He never stops frowning. Third, there is the French lord. He spends all his time dancing and making puns. Fourth, there is the English baron. He's a mess. He dresses in Italian clothes, a French hat, and German shoes. Fifth, there is the Scottish lord. He's boring. Sixth, there is the young German. He's a drunkard. Portia says she'd rather be single forever than marry any of them. Nerissa tells Portia not to worry. All these men have decided to leave anyway. Then Nerissa reminds Portia about a man who came to Belmont years ago, a Venetian scholar and soldier named Bassanio. Portia remembers him well. It's clear she thinks highly of him. A servant arrives with news. The suitors are leaving, but there's a new one on his way. The Prince of Morocco. Portia sighs. As one wooer leaves, another knocks at the door. Act 1, Scene 3. The Bond. Bassanio meets with Shylock, a Jewish moneylender. Bassanio needs 3,000 ducats for 3 months. Antonio will guarantee the loan. Shylock is cautious. He wants to make sure Antonio is good for the money. Antonio, he knows, is a good businessman. But Shylock also knows Antonio has ships at sea, and ships can sink. Shylock refuses an invitation to dinner. He'll do business with Christians, buy from them, sell to them, talk to them. But he won't eat with them, drink with them, or pray with them. Then Antonio arrives. Shylock speaks to himself about his hatred for Antonio. He hates Antonio for many reasons. Antonio has insulted him, spat on his Jewish clothes, and called him a dog. He lends money without charging interest, which drives down Shylock's business. Most of all, Antonio hates Shylock's religion. Shylock agrees to lend the money, but he adds something strange. Instead of charging interest, he'll make a joke bond. If Antonio doesn't pay back the 3,000 ducats on time, Shylock gets a pound of Antonio's flesh. Antonio is shocked, but he agrees. He's sure his ships will be back on time. Bassanio is uneasy. He doesn't like the look of this, but Antonio is confident. His ships will return a month before the loan is due. Act 2, Scene 1. The Prince of Morocco. The Prince of Morocco arrives in Belmont. He's a proud, confident man. He knows his dark skin might put some people off, but he insists it's nothing to be ashamed of. He was born near the sun, and he's as brave as any fair-skinned man. Portia tells him the rules. If he chooses the wrong casket, he must never speak to a woman about marriage again. Morocco accepts the challenge. Act 2, Scene 2. Lancelot Gobbo. Lancelot Gobbo is Shylock's servant, and he hates it. He's thinking about running away. He has a funny conversation with himself. His conscience tells him to stay, but the devil tells him to go. The devil wins. Lancelot decides to leave. Lancelot's blind father, old Gobbo, arrives. He can't see his son, so Lancelot plays a trick on him. He pretends to be a stranger, giving the old man complicated directions to find his son. Finally, he reveals himself and asks for his father's blessing. Lancelot tells his father he wants to work for Bassanio instead of Shylock. Bassanio arrives. Lancelot begs to be taken into his service. Bassanio agrees to hire him. Gratiano arrives and says he wants to go with Bassanio to Belmont. Bassanio agrees on one condition. Gratiano must behave himself. He's too wild and loud. Gratiano promises to act sober and serious. Act 2, Scene 3. Jessica's plan. Jessica is Shylock's daughter, and she's ashamed of it. She says her house is hell. Jessica gives Lancelot a letter for Lorenzo, a Christian she loves. She wants to escape her father's house, marry Lorenzo, and become a Christian. She hopes Lorenzo will keep his promise. Act 2, Scene 4. The escape plan. Lorenzo, Gratiano, Salarino, and Salanio plan to help Jessica escape from her father's house. They'll wear disguises and meet after supper. Lancelot arrives with Jessica's letter. Lorenzo recognizes her handwriting. The letter says she'll leave with a casket full of gold and jewels, dressed as a boy. Lorenzo is overjoyed. Act 2, Scene 5. Shylock leaves. Shylock is going out to supper. He's been invited by Bassanio. He doesn't want to go. He'd rather stay home, but he's going anyway. He gives Jessica the keys to the house and tells her to lock up and stay inside. He's worried about something bad happening. Lancelot tells Shylock he should go. He also, in a whisper, tells Jessica to look out for Lorenzo, who will come to take her away. Shylock suspects something is wrong, but Jessica covers for Lancelot. Shylock warns Jessica not to look out at the Christians with their masks and costumes. He's terrified of the masquerade. He leaves. Jessica is alone. She says goodbye to her father. She knows she's leaving him forever. Act 2, Scene 6. The escape. Graciano is waiting for Lorenzo. Lorenzo arrives. He calls up to Jessica's window. Jessica appears, dressed as a boy. She's embarrassed about her disguise. But love is blind, she says. Lorenzo tells her to come down. She's carrying a casket full of her father's money and jewels. She throws it down to him. She goes back inside to get more money. Graciano is happy. She's a kind Christian, not a Jew. Jessica returns. They all leave. Antonio arrives. He tells Graciano that Bassanio is about to sail for Belmont. There's no time for masquerades. Graciano is happy. He'd rather go to Belmont anyway. Act 2, Scene 7, Morocco's Choice. Portia shows Morocco the 3 caskets. Gold says, "Who chooseth me shall gain what many men desire." Silver says, "Who chooseth me shall get as much as he deserves." Lead says, "Who chooseth me must give and hazard all he hath." Morocco thinks about each casket. Lead is too plain. Silver might be right, but he deserves a lot. He's a prince. But gold promises what many men desire. Many men desire Portia. She's the most wanted woman in the world. He chooses gold. He opens it. Inside is a skull with a scroll in its eye. The scroll says that all that glitters is not gold. He has chosen wrong. Morocco leaves, heartbroken. Portia is relieved. Act 2, Scene 8, Shylock's Ray. Salarino and Salanio hear the news. Bassanio has sailed for Belmont with Graciano. Lorenzo is not on the ship. Shylock is furious. He ran to the Duke with his complaints about Jessica's escape, but it was too late. The ship had already left. Salarino describes Antonio's goodbye with Bassanio. Antonio was crying. He told Bassanio not to rush back for his sake. Antonio was so emotional that he could barely speak. He shook Bassanio's hand, and they parted. Salanio says Antonio only loves the world for Bassanio's sake. They decide to go find him and cheer him up. Act 2, Scene 9, Aragon's Choice. The Prince of Aragon arrives. He's proud and thinks highly of himself. He looks at the caskets. Gold says, "Who chooseth me shall gain what many men desire." Many men, that means the common people. Aragon is too proud to choose what common people want. Lead says, "Who chooseth me must give and hazard all he hath." He won't risk everything for Lead. Silver says, "Who chooseth me shall get as much as he deserves." That's perfect. He deserves much. He chooses Silver. He opens it. Inside is a portrait of an idiot holding a scroll. Aragon is furious. He reads the scroll. It says there are silver-plated fools, and he's one of them. He leaves embarrassed. Portia is relieved again. A messenger arrives. A young Venetian has come to Belmont. He's a messenger from Bassanio. He brings gifts and announces his master's arrival. Portia is excited. She knows it's Bassanio. She rushes off to prepare. Hello, everyone. Welcome to those of you who just joined. Hope you are loving this wonderful play at the Moments of Magic, the place where we make our childhood classics easy to understand and listen to, so you can never grow too old and always feel like a child at heart as you enjoy amazing stories. We're continuing our journey through William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. A quick recap for you all. Bassanio was preparing to sail to Belmont to try his luck with the caskets. Jessica had escaped her father Shylock's house with Lorenzo, and Shylock was furious about losing his daughter and his money. Now the story reaches its most intense moments. The trial, the famous speech about mercy, and a twist that will leave everyone surprised. So let's continue where we left off. Act 3, Scene 1, Shylock's famous speech. Back in Venice, Salarino and Salanio are talking with Shylock. They ask him about his daughter's escape. Shylock is devastated. "My own flesh and blood to rebel," he cries. Salarino makes a joke. "There is more difference between thy flesh and hers than between jet and ivory." Shylock doesn't find it funny. He's in pain. Then Shylock learns that Antonio's ships have been lost at sea. He's overjoyed. Now he can get his revenge. He says one of the most famous speeches in all of literature. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is. He continues, If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? Shylock is saying that Jews are human too. They feel the same things Christians feel. If Christians teach them revenge, then Jews will learn it. The villainy they teach him, he will execute. Tubal, another Jewish moneylender, arrives with news. He's heard about Jessica but can't find her. He also confirms that Antonio's ships are lost. Shylock is determined. He will have his bond. He will have Antonio's flesh. Act 3, Scene 2, Bassanio's choice. Back in Belmont, Bassanio is about to choose his casket. Portia is nervous. She wants to help him, but she can't. She's sworn to follow her father's will. She tells him to wait, to pause a day or two. But Bassanio wants to choose now. He says he's living on a rack of torment. He can't wait any longer. Portia worries that he speaks upon the rack. She's afraid he's saying things he doesn't mean just to get through the test. Bassanio assures her that his love is real. Portia tells him to go ahead. She's locked in one of the caskets. If he loves her, he will find her. Music plays while Bassanio thinks. He looks at the caskets. He thinks about appearances, about how things aren't always what they seem. In law, he says, a corrupt plea can be hidden by a gracious voice. In religion, a damned error can be approved by a sober brow. Cowards can wear the beards of brave men. Beauty can be purchased with weight, making it light. He concludes that gold is too gaudy. Silver is just a common drudge between man and man, but lead threatens rather than promises. Lead moves him more than eloquence. He chooses lead. Portia is overjoyed. Bassanio opens the casket. Inside is Portia's picture. He's chosen correctly. Portia gives herself to Bassanio. She gives him a ring and makes him swear to never part with it. He swears he will never lose it. Gratiano is also happy. He announces that he and Nerissa will marry too. Everyone is celebrating. Then Salerio arrives with a letter from Antonio. Bassanio reads it. His face turns pale. Portia asks what's wrong. Bassanio tells her Antonio's ships are all lost. He owes Shylock 3,000 ducats, but the real debt is much worse. Antonio has signed a bond promising a pound of his own flesh. If he can't pay, Shylock will take it. And Shylock refuses to accept payment. He wants his revenge. He wants Antonio dead. Bassanio is in shock. Antonio is his dearest friend, the kindest man he knows. Portia asks how much Antonio owes. 3,000 ducats, Bassanio says. Portia says they'll pay much more, 6,000, 20 times that. She tells Bassanio to go to Venice immediately, to save his friend. She says she'll live as a maid and widow until he returns. Bassanio reads the letter from Antonio. It says Antonio's ships have all been lost. His creditors are cruel. His bond is forfeit. He will die. He wants to see Bassanio before he dies. Portia urges Bassanio to hurry. He must save his friend. Act 3, Scene 3, Antonio's fate. Antonio is in prison. The jailer is with him. Shylock enters. He's determined to have his bond. Antonio pleads for mercy, but Shylock won't listen. I'll have my bond, he says. I will not hear thee speak. Antonio knows why Shylock hates him. He's helped many people escape Shylock's loans. Salanio says the Duke will never allow this forfeiture. But Antonio isn't so sure. The law is the law. The Duke can't deny justice without harming Venice's reputation. Antonio is weakened by his losses. He can barely spare a pound of flesh. He wishes Bassanio would come to see him die. Then he'd be at peace. Act 3, Scene 4, Portia's plan. Back in Belmont, Portia is making plans. Lorenzo praises her for being so kind to Antonio. He says she's noble and true. Portia says she never regrets doing good. She believes Antonio must be like her husband. If Bassanio loves him, he must be worthy. She sends her servant Balthazar to Padua with a letter. The letter is for her cousin, a lawyer named Bellerio. She tells Lorenzo and Jessica to look after her house. Then she reveals her secret plan to Nerissa. She's going to Venice, but she's going dressed as a man. She'll pretend to be a lawyer. She'll defend Antonio in court. She tells Nerissa that dressed as men, they'll be more convincing. They'll have to act brave and speak boldly. She's been practicing. She knows how to walk like a man, speak in a lower voice, and tell stories about great deeds. Nerissa agrees to join her. They leave for Venice. Act 3, Scene 5, Lancelot and Jessica. Back in Belmont, Lancelot is joking with Jessica. He tells her she's damned because she's a Jew's daughter. But she says she'll be saved by her husband. He's made her a Christian. Lancelot jokes that converting Jews will raise the price of pork. Lorenzo arrives and tells Lancelot to prepare dinner. Jessica says she approves of Bassanio's wife. Portia is perfect. She hopes Lorenzo will be as good to her. Lorenzo jokes that he will. They leave to eat. Act 4, Scene 1, the trial scene. This is the most famous scene in the play. The Duke of Venice presides over the trial. Antonio is brought in. Shylock is there too. The Duke speaks to Shylock. He's sorry for Antonio. Shylock is a stony adversary, an inhuman wretch, incapable of pity. Antonio is ready for his fate. He's prepared to suffer. The Duke asks Shylock to be merciful. Shylock refuses. He says he's been hurt by Antonio. He's been called a dog, spat on, and insulted. He wants revenge. He says he doesn't need to give a reason. He just hates Antonio. Antonio says he has no hope. There's no way to change Shylock. Bassanio offers Shylock 6,000 ducats instead of 3. Shylock refuses. He says if every ducat in 6,000 were in 6 parts, and every part a ducat, he wouldn't take them. He wants his bond. The Duke tries to reason with him. Shylock doesn't care. He wants justice. Portia enters, disguised as a young lawyer named Balthazar. She says she's been sent by Bellerio, the famous lawyer. The Duke welcomes her. Portia asks to see the bond. Shylock shows it to her. She confirms that it's valid. By the law, Shylock can claim his pound of flesh. She asks Shylock to be merciful. He refuses. She says he should have a surgeon ready to stop Antonio's wounds. Shylock says it's not in the bond. Portia gives her judgment. The court awards Shylock a pound of Antonio's flesh. Shylock is thrilled. Most rightful judge, he cries. But then Portia stops him. She says the bond says a pound of flesh, but it says nothing about blood. If Shylock sheds 1 drop of Christian blood, his lands and goods will be confiscated. Shylock pauses. He didn't think of that. He decides to take the money instead. He'll take 3,000 ducats and leave. Portia says no. He's already refused the money in court. He'll have nothing but his bond. Shylock tries to take his principal, the money he lent. Portia says no, it's not in the bond. Shylock is trapped. Then Portia reveals another law. If an alien tries to take the life of a citizen, all his goods are confiscated. The state takes half, the victim takes half, and the alien's life is at the mercy of the Duke. The Duke spares Shylock's life, but he takes half his goods for the state. The other half goes to Antonio. Antonio is merciful. He says Shylock can keep his half, but only if he agrees to 2 things. First, Shylock must become a Christian. Second, he must leave all his property to his daughter Jessica and her husband Lorenzo. Shylock is broken. I am content, he says. He's lost everything. His money, his daughter, his religion. He leaves the courtroom. Everyone celebrates. Bassanio thanks Portia. He offers her anything she wants. Portia asks for his ring, the one he swore to keep. Bassanio is hesitant. He loves the ring. It was a gift from his wife. Antonio asks him to give it up. Portia has saved his life. Bassanio reluctantly gives her the ring. Portia leaves. Act 4, Scene 2, The Ring Trick. Portia and Nerissa are still in disguise. Portia sends Nerissa to Shylock's house. She has a deed for him to sign. It gives his property to Jessica and Lorenzo. Gratiano arrives. He gives Portia Bassanio's ring. Portia asks Gratiano to show her Shylock's house. Nerissa, pretending to be the clerk, asks Gratiano for his ring. Gratiano reluctantly gives it to her. Now both men have given away their rings. Portia and Nerissa leave. They'll return to Belmont before their husbands. Act 5, Scene 1, The Happy Ending. Back in Belmont, Lorenzo and Jessica are outside the house. They're looking at the stars and talking about famous lovers from mythology. Lorenzo speaks about the power of music. He says that even wild horses can be calmed by its sweet sound. He says a man without music in his soul is fit for nothing but evil. Portia and Nerissa arrive. Lorenzo and Jessica welcome them home. Portia says she's been praying for her husband's welfare. A trumpet sounds. Bassanio, Antonio, and Gratiano arrive. Portia welcomes her husband home. Gratiano and Nerissa start to argue. Gratiano has lost his ring. Nerissa is furious. She gave him the ring and made him swear to keep it. Gratiano admits he gave it to the lawyer's clerk. Portia gets angry too. She says she gave Bassanio a ring and made him swear to keep it. She's sure he would never give it away. Bassanio is uncomfortable. He has indeed given his ring away. Portia pretends to be furious. She says she'll never come to his bed until she sees the ring. Bassanio tries to explain. He gave it to the doctor who saved Antonio's life. He didn't want to, but he had to. Portia says she'll have that doctor for her bedfellow. Nerissa says she'll have his clerk. Gratiano warns them not to say such things. Antonio tries to make peace. Portia reveals the truth. She gives Antonio a letter. It says 3 of his ships have arrived safely. She gives Lorenzo a deed from Shylock. It gives Jessica and Lorenzo all of Shylock's property after his death. Then she shows Bassanio the ring. She and Nerissa were the doctor and the clerk. Bassanio is amazed. "Were you the doctor and I knew you not?" he asks. Portia and Nerissa are happy. Gratiano promises never to lose Nerissa's ring again. The play ends with everyone happy. Key themes and lessons. 1. Mercy over justice. Portia's famous speech about mercy says that mercy is twice blessed. It blesses the one who gives and the one who receives. Shylock demands strict justice, but it nearly destroys him. Mercy is higher than justice. 2. Revenge destroys the avenger. Shylock's desire for revenge consumes him. He loses his money, his daughter, his religion, and his humanity. Revenge always hurts the one who seeks it. 3. Appearance versus reality. Nothing is what it seems. The gold casket looks valuable but contains a skull. The lead casket looks worthless but contains Portia's picture. Bassanio chooses wisely because he sees beyond appearances. 4. Friendship is true wealth. Antonio risks his life for his friend Bassanio. Bassanio goes to Venice to save Antonio. Their friendship is the heart of the play. True friends are worth more than gold. 5. Prejudice is destructive. Shylock is treated terribly because he's Jewish. Antonio and others insult him, spit on him, and mock him. This prejudice feeds Shylock's hatred. The play shows how bigotry hurts everyone. 6. The law can be a weapon. Shylock uses the law to seek revenge. Portia uses the same law to defeat him. The law is neutral. It can be used for good or evil. It depends on who wields it. Final thoughts. The Merchant of Venice is a complicated play. It's a comedy, but it has a dark heart. Shylock is a villain, but he's also a victim. He's cruel, but he's been treated cruelly. The play asks difficult questions. Is revenge ever justified? Can prejudice be overcome? What does mercy really mean? Portia is one of Shakespeare's greatest heroines. She's clever, brave, and resourceful. She saves the day by using her wits, not her strength. Bassanio and Antonio's friendship is beautiful. They're willing to risk everything for each other. And Shylock is one of the most memorable characters in literature. His pain is real. His anger is understandable. Even when he's cruel, we can't help but feel sorry for him. The Merchant of Venice is a story about love, justice, mercy, and redemption. It's a story that still speaks to us today. 10 fascinating facts about the Merchant of Venice. 1. Written around 1596–1599. Shakespeare wrote The Merchant of Venice in the late 1590s, around the same time as Romeo and Juliet and A Midsummer Night's Dream. 2. It's often called a problem play. The play is classified as a comedy because it has a happy ending, but it's also very dark. The treatment of Shylock makes it uncomfortable for modern audiences. 3. The famous Hath Not a Jew Eyes speech. Shylock's speech about his humanity is one of the most famous in Shakespeare. It's still quoted today when discussing prejudice and discrimination. 4. Portia is one of Shakespeare's strongest female characters. Portia is intelligent, resourceful, and brave. She disguises herself as a man and successfully argues in court. She's a feminist icon. 5. The play was inspired by real events. In 1594, a Jewish woman in Venice was accused of poisoning her Christian lover. The case caused a scandal. Shylock might be based on the moneylenders who were active in Venice at the time. 6. The play has been adapted many times. There have been dozens of film and television adaptations. The most famous is probably the 2004 film starring Al Pacino as Shylock. 7. Shylock's character has changed over time. In Shakespeare's time, Shylock was seen as a villain. Today, many productions show him as a tragic figure. Audiences often feel sympathy for him. 8. The play has been banned. The Merchant of Venice has been banned in several countries and schools because of its portrayal of Jews. It's a controversial play even today. 9. The casket scenes are based on a folktale. The idea of choosing between 3 caskets is an old folktale. Shakespeare borrowed it and made it his own. 10. Venice was a real center of trade. In Shakespeare's time, Venice was one of the wealthiest cities in Europe. It was known for its merchants and its moneylenders. The setting was perfect for this story. The end. This completes our journey through William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. May we all remember that mercy is better than revenge, and that true friends are worth more than all the gold in the world.